I became an actor, I never fantasized about playing James Bond. As a kid, yeah. But that was being James Bond. That was something else.
Welcome to Being James Bond, the longest running James Bond podcast in the world.
The name is Bond. James Bond.
And after a long hiatus, welcome back, Scott. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. We had some contract negotiations, but we finally worked them out.
You held out, man. You held out for that big paycheck. And
I had
to
just
give
like
in.
just like Eon Productions, man. I was holding out. So.
There you go.
And since we last talked, not really much has happened in the Bond community, huh? No,
not at all. Nothing. Very quiet.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, today we're gonna shake the pillars of the Bond community. I'll tell you that.
That we are.
Because we got something special in store for you today.
We certainly do. Scott decided we're going to come out pretty strong. It's his first podcast in a long time. So yeah, we're going to hit it hard this time. So
we're going to swing for the fences.
Absolutely. It's going to be a grand slam today. So Scott is going to give not just his ranking of the 25 Bond films. He's going to rank 27 Bond films.
That's right.
And as if you needed the perfect wine to accompany a good meal, Scott is going to do a pairing. Every film, he is going to pair it with another film that he feels would make a good complement. So it could be like everyone is going to be a double feature. Am I getting that right?
Wow, that was perfect. I mean, I couldn't have said that better, and I'm glad you said it because that was beautiful.
So let's jump right in because I know everybody is anxious to hear this list, man. I think this is going to be a great one. Right. So, and again, you are doing 27 films.
That's right. We're going to do the non-official, kind of Eon production ones.
Excellent.
Right. Because we don't want to be curmudgeons, right? We want to be inclusive here. So.
This is true. I tend to be a stickler for the 25.
Are you really?
But I mean, only because but not for any particular reason. I mean, I do like talking about those other films, and I think they again deserve some recognition because they are James Bond films. So why don't we jump in and start with number 27,
and that would be Die Another Day.
Oh,
and, yeah, I know. And it's funny. It's like I don't know if I hate that film or anything like that. But it just, when I was working on the list, I was really concentrating on the top stuff, like the top 10 and all that. So, and I said, I'll let the bottom sort of take care of itself. And I said, which film would I probably not really want to go to bat for that much? And I was like, I think it's Die Another Day. So it ended up on the bottom. I think the film also, too, I think because it starts off with a pretty good premise and it starts off fine, but I think it sort of retreats from that premise, goes back into formula. And it's a big mess. And it has one of my least favorite villains of the series in it, and that whole thing where those two the Gustav Graves stuff. I mean, it just doesn't work, But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't think anybody's going to give you an argument about that one.
I don't really have to explain myself too hard on that.
Not exactly. Again, we love them all, but they can't all be the top ones, so something's got to be at the bottom.
Right. And I must say, like I said, like these James Bond movies are like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's good, right?
There you go. Exactly.
So,
I'm dying to know what the pairing for this one would be, though.
It's a Hong Kong film from the 90s called From Beijing with Love, who's done by Stephen Chow, who's quite the big sensation in China back in those days. And he most of his films were didn't translate well to American, but this one does because it's got some good action scenes in it, and it's kind of got this wacky comedy thing going on too. And also, it's very much of the time period. So if you ever seen Chungking Express, it has sort of parodies of that in there too.
Okay.
So it's a little spoofy, but it's actually got some really violent action too, which is it's kind of a weird mix, but it does work.
I could see that pairing actually. Now that you're saying it, it sounds a little tongue in cheek, not meant to be taken too seriously, but trying to be fun and try to deliver a lot.
It's sort of an insane night of just crazy movies that After you're finished with that, man, you'll just be like, you won't even need to have a drink when you watch this. This will be enough of a mind eraser for you.
There you go. Oh my goodness. All right, my friend. Number 26.
And that would be the Casino Royale 67.
Okay.
which I actually don't hate. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. It's a mess of a movie. That don't get me wrong. But there's some great moments in it. The score is fantastic. Burt Bacharach. If you do one thing, seek out the score, or just watch the movie for the score. It's really great. A little different than the typical John Barry stuff, but really still, very much of the '60s, but wonderful. And there's a few good things in Casino Royale. Like Woody Allen's very good in it. I kind of like the Mata Hari section of it, and the cinematography and everything's kind of great. But it's a whacked out film, so crazy. Definitely a product of his time.
Very much so.
I think, yeah, but worth watching once, I think, even out of curiosity.
I would agree with that. Absolutely. I'm curious what the pairing is going to be, because I could think of a lot of movies that would sort of fall into that.
I go with, I had to go with, and I would recommend, if you do if you watch all the films in order, maybe put this at the last, like to make this like sort of like your farewell blast or whatever. I put in Austin Powers International Mystery, the first one.
Okay,
I think a lot of people are familiar with that, but it just seemed right, because that's sort of like almost a love letter to films like not only the Bond films, but Casino Royale and films like that from that era,
Big time. Yes. No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I like that. Which brings us to number 25.
And that would be Quantum of Solace.
Oof. Oh, my goodness.
Solace.
I know a few Bond fans who are going to take issue with that one being so low, but go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I just realized, I could go through this and that and the other thing, but it's really the style in that movie that I don't like. I just don't like the way they approached it. It's just this kinetic editing, which I don't think works. I think that kind of editing can work. It just doesn't work in this film.
Agreed.
But I did marathon the Craig's films recently, and I was kind of thankful for its short running time, because all the other ones are pretty long, to be honest with you.
Your favorite part was the end credits?
Yeah. You know what? No, I have to say this time it played a little better than usual. So I'll give it. How about I'll give it? I'll be.
Does it play well when you do it as a marathon? Like it's just sort of the placeholder that takes you from one to the other.
It kind of does. It kind of it's kind of like a little breather after Casino Royale, where something you don't really have to pay too much close attention to. Like Casino Royale, you have to sort of pay attention, and you're on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
And this one's a little bit more just kind of like crazy guy. It's got a great David Arnold score though, so there's some good stuff in here.
Okay. And the pairing, I'm curious.
I went with the man from U.N.C.L.E., the Guy Ritchie one.
Okay.
The semi-recent, which I really like, actually. It's got a great score. Daniel Pepperton, I think if that guy, he would do a great James Bond score.
Mm-hmm.
And by that one movie, the one thing I don't like is sort of the action scenes. I don't like the way they're edited. So it kind of a good compliment to this. It's like two movies that I kind of like The Man from U.N.C.L.E., but I'm not crazy about the action scenes.
Okay. That's interesting. Kind of a little more of a playful tone. I would almost say, I wonder if that works as a nice palate cleanser. Like so there are some, if we're sticking with the wine and food, analogy.
Right.
Some wines work well because they complement,
right,
and other ones work because they contrast. And I think this is probably, it'll be a nice, just a little bit of a nice contrast to the serious tone of Quantum.
No, very good point. And I think also too, as I experimented sometimes with some of these movies, and some of them didn't quite work. I was like, "Ooh, this is not quite meshing." So it was a little trial and error.
Okay. Number 24,
and that would be Tomorrow Never Dies.
Oh yeah, I know that you know.
Another one, yeah, I know.
Again, I know a couple guys who are gonna take issue with that, but I remember our conversation very well about that one, so I was not expecting this to be very high on your list.
I'm an old curmudgeon-y guy. Come on, I know. There's young whippersnappers over editing their movies.
There you
go. There's a lot to like in Tomorrow. Again, a great David Arnold. Probably, what I'm going to go on. I think I might go to bat here. I think it might be the best David Arnold score, though. I'll give it that. On its own. I think there was it was his first score for the James Bond series, and he's really excited to do it. He's really up. He's trying everything. I had that La La Land release. It's like 2-disc affair, a lot of music, almost a little too much maybe, but boy, it is pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
So I'd give it that. And I also like the backseat driver sequence, even though I think it's a little over edited. probably the best sequence in the film.
Mhm.
I hate that Q, that poor Q. They put him in that terrible Avis suit with the
Yeah,
bright
the
red.
red
Oh,
jacket, yeah.
poor Desmond Llewellyn. You know, I was watching Laurence Olivier Hamlet, and he did way back in the day, like in the 40s. And I saw Desmond Llewellyn. He was like one of the guards in like the background of one of the scenes. I was like, hey, it's Desmond Llewellyn. So,
Cool.
yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, right.
That's cool. All right, so what are we pairing this guy with?
I paired it with Super Cop, which is the Police Story 3.
Okay.
With Michelle Yeoh
Makes sense.
and Jackie Chan, obviously. And that one's just a great stunt show. You know, it's a lot of fun to watch. I think the best of that series, though, is the first Police Story. If you've never seen that, it's worth watching. It's some amazing action for real. No CGI, amazing stuff. Yeah, and that I think it made good. And I also think Super Cop also showcases Michelle Yeoh's skill much better.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Sure. No, that's a great. I think that's a great pairing, especially if you watched Tomorrow Never Dies and you liked it for Michelle Yeoh and you want
Right.
more, and yeah, boom, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah, I think part of this too is like, I kind of you and I were always like we always love movies, and I think sometimes you discover movies by trying other movies out. Like, oh, I like this, let me give this a try. So yeah.
No, I agree. And a good movie leaves you hungry for more, so this works.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right, number 23
is View to a Kill.
Okay,
which I just even back in the day, it just never quite meshed for me. It's got a great title song, great main titles. I think I like Christopher Walken. I think he's a little bit of an odd couple of choice with Roger Moore. I don't know if it quite works. I think we talked about this once. I think it would have been interesting if it would have been like Christopher Walken going head to head with Timothy Dalton. Now that would be interesting, because I think I got that idea. Somebody on YouTube did. I don't know who it was, and I forgive me for not giving you credit, but somebody was talking about that, and I was like, "Ooh, that would be interesting." Timothy Dalton and Christopher Walken going head to head. I like that idea.
Yeah,
but that's a movie that never quite connects with me. But it's another good John Barry score though, and it's got its merits.
Big time.
I like the blend stuff at the end.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny we're talking about this because recently I've kind of had sort of tiny bit of a renaissance with this film personally. It's almost to the point where I know I shouldn't like it, but I think I'm ready to accept the fact that it's just kind of grown on me. And every time I watch it, I'm having fun with it. It's not as serious. It's hardly a From Russia with Love. It might be the polar opposite, but I do find myself smiling when I'm watching it. So, but yeah, the points are all perfectly valid.
I think for more, it was a bridge too far. I think it would have been perfect if he could have sailed off in the sunset there with Maud Adams, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Good point there. What are we pairing this sucker with?
Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins, and also sadly
great.
Ended too.
Right. I wonder if you and I wonder if you and I are the only two guys in the world who know Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins.
The Adventure Begins.
I'm sure we saw that in the theater together, probably.
Well, you know what? For a while, we're talking about the 80s here, man, and that was a staple of HBO, right? Yeah. So it was either you watch Family Feud or Remo Williams, And if we're into like the spy thing, we'll watch a Remo Williams, right?
Yeah.
But it's got Fred Ward in it, who's a really great actor, and Joel Grey gives a great performance in there too.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. I'm not saying it's very it's kind of hokey. It's definitely very much of the time. It's directed by Guy Hamilton. They got him. They said, "Hey,
is that right? I didn't remember that. Okay,
they're like, give me that guy who directed Goldfinger. Yeah, we're gonna make one of our franchise with that. But it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't quite all mesh together. One wishes it did, but it's still worth a view. And I think it's readily available on Blu-ray and stuff like that. So there you go.
All righty. I love it. Where are we now? So we're on 22.
We're at the 22. That's right.
What do we got?
I got Spectre in that spot right there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, Spectre. I think it has a great pre-title sequence. It's got a great pre-title sequence. No, it's got some good stuff in there. I don't totally hate it like everyone else. I gotta say, it's got a great 7.1 surround. When I'm messing with my audio and my surround stuff, that's sort of my go-to for my surround to see what's going on. It's great 7.1 soundtrack there. Which it's interesting though. I believe when the film was released, it was released with a Dolby Atmos track. So if they ever did a 4K again, they probably should give us a Dolby Atmos track. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But anyway,
all right. Not a lot of argument from me on that one. So
right, and I think we've kind of spectered to death. I think talked about this movie.
We did.
It's all flawed.
We had
about the Sony thing, and
yes, we had a lot of time to sort of pick on that one. So
we sure did.
Yeah. So what are we going to pair that with?
I'm going to pair this. This is kind of unfair, but I paired it with Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. And that was sort of like my way of saying, this is how you do it. This is how you make a movie about a super secret organization and still make it thrilling and still, have it like sort of a team adventure, but that works. I just think Rogue Nation is almost superior in every other way. To Spectre, unfortunately.
Yes, I agree with you, and I believe if that was the same year too, wasn't it? Didn't they come out the same?
It was exactly the same year.
Okay. All right. No, I totally get that. And talk about a palate cleanser. I mean, I think that's one for sure.
And then Mission Impossible, where they gave us Fallout right after that, right? And meanwhile, Bond was just sitting on their laurels. So there you go.
Not only that, okay. So because Rogue Nation came after Ghost Protocol. That the Mission Impossible films are starting to blend together in my mind.
A little bit. They're getting similar.
They're bad.
They used to be quite different, and but they kind of got into this niche where they're like, oh, that Rogue Nation really worked, and so they kind of like repeating that a little bit, and that's okay. But
I kind of feel like, but that's okay with me because I feel like that's kind of, I almost feel like there's times when I'm sort of pining for the days of like serial films where you could go time after time and what you're in for, and the quality stays the same, and I'm actually fine with that. But I don't want to derail, but that's a great point.
Like I think with Danny Craig, you don't have to change the world. They can, all these budgets got super huge and big, and sometimes you just got to take a page, like For Your Eyes Only. After Moonraker, they were going big.
Yep.
And then they kind of brought it down a little bit, and that was fine.
Agreed. All right, so that means we're up to 21,
and it's for me, it's Never Say Never Again.
Oh, wow. That's actually pretty high.
I know it's pretty
high. I think that's up there.
I love I love the supporting cast. I love Connery. He's got an old pro's grace in there. And when I watched it this time, I was taken by was Kim Basinger. I think she plays like the wounded bird really good. And between Connery and Klaus Maria Brown there. I can never get that guy's name right, by the way. I apologize. I'm always stumbling over that name. It's like a mental block. But that guy's a fantastic actor. The scenes between him and Connery are fantastic in this. Yeah. And there's certain things I wish that happened. I wish they had just played maybe a traditional game of poker or baccarat or something instead of that silly game. It kind of dates the picture, but oh well. But there's some good scenes between them. There's like that scene where he sneaks on the boat. And they're doing all this stuff where it's like subtext. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. I'm with you there. Also, kind of like you said, kind of a product of its time. I feel like that one. Yeah. It was interesting, the contrast between that and Octopussy that summer. I feel like of the two, Never Say Never has that kind of 80s stamp on it. You know what I mean?
It sure does. Yeah. And it's got action scenes are kind of bad. The score is The score is terrible. But but there's some good to be had. You got to sift through it though.
Exactly. Yeah. So what's the pairing there? Now I'm curious.
And I did the Battle of the Bonds, so I paired it with Octopussy.
Oh, there you go. Okay, that makes sense.
And you know what? It made a really good double feature. It was very good.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun. Gotcha. And I guess we'll talk about Octopussy a little further down the road.
Absolutely. All right, that brings us to number 20.
And this is the only movie I didn't pair it with because it's so darn long. and I think you know what it is. It's No Time to Die.
Okay. All right. So spoiler alert, when we do our review, it's not going to be way high on Scott's list.
There you go.
Okay. And you didn't pair it because by the time you get done with this one, you just want to go to bed.
It's sort of like It's sort of like when the Mets lose and you just turn the TV off real quick. That's kind of like
right. There you go. Okay. All right. So, and again, I won't spoil anything by
No,
picking your
no,
brain too much about that one. We'll
no.
talk about that soon enough. Let's go to number 19.
And that would be Moonraker.
Okay. All right.
I like
Also pretty high up. I
It is. It's got you know what? It's got some great stuff in it. That opening pre-title sequences, I think, is still great. The skydiving is amazing. It's got a
mm,
great. Sounds like a broken record, but yes, it has a great John Barry score. It's got the first 45 minutes is good. Yes, the whole Jaws stuff is dumb and stupid. I think we've all talked about that. Wish that wasn't the case, but I saw this at the perfect age. I was like 11 years old, and it was a very special theatrical experience for me. It was one of the most memorable, because I got
Yeah.
to take the day off school. My mom took me as a special treat, and it was like in a premium theater. It was just amazing. My 11-year-old brain just blew up.
Yeah, I absolutely, yeah. I
I
mean,
think I
it's
walked out of that saying that was better than Star Wars.
I'd say it a lot.
Yeah.
No question, Moonraker is absolutely responsible for an entire generation of Bond
It could
fans.
be, yeah,
That's
yeah,
I
for sure.
totally believe that to be true. What on earth would you pair that with?
I paired it with In Like Flint, which is like a decade earlier, but it just like that
Okay.
one also. That's also Derek Flint goes into outer space in that, and that made for a fun, wacky double feature. It really kind of worked. I wasn't sure because like In Like Flint's got a real strong '60s vibe, but yeah, it kind of worked because it's just as whacked out. It's even more. If you think Moonraker's wacky, In Like Flint takes the cake. But
Okay.
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch, and that one's got a really good Jerry Goldsmith score.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I didn't realize he was doing scores that early, but okay.
Oh yeah, no, he was very early. He did like some Twilight Zones. I mean, he was
Really?
like in the 50s. Yeah,
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
He was. Oh, but I have to admit, I have to say this because I mean, I love Jerry Goldsmith, and it was kind of like back in the day. I didn't before I even see the movie. I go out and get the soundtrack because it was Jerry Goldsmith, and I was assured that it would be good. And it always
Mhm.
was.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing composer.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I totally agree. All right, number 18, I believe, will round out your bottom 10. So which
That
one made the bottom 10 at number 18?
I gotta take a wild guess. It's one of your favorites.
Go
I'm being
ahead.
sarcastic.
I'm
Diamonds
like,
are
I'm like,
forever. Diamonds are
okay, all
forever.
right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
figured either you're being sarcastic or you're gonna grab one
Being
of my.
sarcastic. Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah.
All right, but hey, still pretty high up, honestly. That's
It
that's
is.
not too low for.
This it is funny too because back in the day you didn't have that whole, it's the movie after Majesty's Secret Service, because now we all watch them in order. But back
Yeah.
in the day, it was just like random James Bond movie on television, and you watched it. And it was a Sean Connery Bond movie, and you were thankful to watch it.
Mm,
But I know it's got some really cheesy stuff. I actually like the first like 45 minutes of this really a lot. I like all
mm.
that stuff. When they go to Vegas, maybe not so hot. But but there's like I like the way they dole out the exposition in this movie.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
really
true.
interesting, and that beginning
Yeah.
sequence I think it's very good, but very well done. And it's that part of the beginning of the McKenswick trilogy,
Yes,
which
yes.
includes Live and Let Die and Man with the Golden Gun. So
Yeah. 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 No, very much a product of its
and
era for sure. And
and
I
it's
think
kind
that's
of like yes, very true.
mhm.
And it's kind of a movie I like sometimes to put on because I can veg out to it. I don't have to like like if I put on like Casino Royale, I feel like I have to like pay attention.
Right, right.
That's my Bond movie, my background Bond movie. That I can just
Yeah.
put on and just whatever do multitask.
Yeah, no, very true. I totally agree.
And yes, I'm going to say it again. A great John Barry score.
That's quite all right. What are we pairing this guy with?
I paired it with a movie made around the same time called Tony Rome, and it's a Frank Sinatra movie where he plays sort of a private detective, and Jill St. John's in it. So it's a Jill St. John double feature.
Oh.
And Tony Rome's kind of like the at that point he's sort of like the sort of Bond but private investigator.
Okay.
So there you go. You can imagine that, and he's got some funny quips. It's a fun movie to watch.
Okay. And I just from the sound of it, it sounds like something that would probably pair nicely with this movie.
And it's got Nancy Sinatra singing the theme song. So there you go. Another Bond connection.
Okay. All right. That's it. No, that's a pretty good pairing right there.
Yeah.
Cool. Which brings us to number 17.
and that's The Man with the Golden Gun.
Okay, all right. That's probably we're getting into
Yeah,
the middling kind of stuff.
yeah.
I'm with you there.
I really love Man with the Golden Gun. I'm a big Christopher Lee fan. I think he was great, and I miss him. He was a great actor, and I just really like this movie. This is another one. This is one I think part of my childhood makes this go higher on the list
Mhm.
because I had recorded this movie off of TV, when it was broadcast on regular television, and I listened to it at night, so I know the dialogue and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy,
Yeah,
because I can't remember what I did yesterday, but I remember the lines from Man with the Golden Gun,
yeah.
But the return of Sheriff J.W. Peppers. Oh, that's another silly thing, and that's
Mhm.
dumb. There's some dumb stuff in here, but you know what I like too? I like and this is like so Roger Moore's Bond, because I like you always think of Bond like he's like the soft Bond, but then you get like a scene like he has here with Maud Adams, where he gets rough with her, and it's like takes you aback because you don't
Yeah.
expect it from him.
Mm.
So and he's got some good quips in here when she comes out of the shower with the gun. He's like, "A water pistol." I mean, so there's some really good stuff in here.
Yeah.
So yeah, very enjoyable movie, I think.
Okay. All right. And now, obviously, this one. Well, I won't say anything, but I'm curious about the pairing for this one because
I paired this with a movie called The Man from Hong Kong, which has it's Australian made. It's sort of a stunt show thing, but George Lazenby plays the bad guy in it, and he's pretty amazing in it, I gotta say. And you got to give the guy kudos because they have a fight scene at the end. And they set him on fire while he's karate fighting.
really.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I had to give the guy kudos, man. He's got some courage.
Wow. All right. George is here to work. Okay.
Yeah, he's here to work, man.
That's cool.
He's very good. He's very good as the villain too, by the way.
Nice. Okay. All right. Now I'm curious. Might have to seek this out.
I have it. Yeah, I've got it on disc if you ever want it. So
All right. Cool.
yeah.
All right. Number 16. What do we got?
And I apologize for it being kind of low on the list, but there's just others that I like a little better. But it's The World Is Not Enough.
Oh, okay.
I know.
It does feel a little bit low, but I guess we are kind of at the halfway point. So okay.
I know others that probably done lists. They probably know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you struggle. You're like, "Ooh, how can I move that up?" And there's like, "Ooh, I don't want to move that one down." So you're kind of stuck
Right.
sometimes. Yeah. And it's this is personal preference.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
yeah. I really love The World Is Not Enough. I got to say that on this watch, I sat down. I hadn't watched the movies in years, and I decided to sit down and start off, with Dr. No and work my way through. And I was really having a blast doing that. And I was taking my time. I wasn't like rushing it or doing it, And I found the Brosnan era a little hard to get through, which was kind of strange. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why.
Okay.
But The World Not Enough is a very good movie. And by the way, Renard, he's a henchman. I decided completely now after I was watching.
Yeah.
He's the henchman.
Right.
He's not the villain. He's the henchman. Yeah.
I would have to agree with that. Yeah. And you're right. We've talked about the Brosnans, and we've always sort of said like, he was sold a little short. I don't think he quite got the movie that he deserved.
He was a great James Bond in search of a great script.
Yes.
I feel,
Yes.
and he came close, but yeah, he never had that. He never had that home run. He never had that, From Russia with Love or that Spy Who Loved Me or, yeah, it's a shame.
Agreed. Okay. Fair enough. All right. What are we pairing that guy with? That's an interesting film. So what do you pair that with?
I paired it, I had some fun pairing some of these films with ex-Bonds. Like I just had Lazenby, with Roger Moore. So I went with Entrapment, which was made right around the same time with Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones. A film I quite like, and it was nice to revisit. I hadn't seen it in quite a while, and it was a fun movie. It's a fun, breezy entertainment, I think.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I have to confess, I've never actually seen that, which is sort of shocking.
You've never seen Entrapment?
Yeah, I don't
mackerel.
just one of those I never got around to. I don't know why.
Really? It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Or maybe I've heard so much about it that I feel like I've seen it, but I never actually saw it. So.
It's funny, but he's quite older than her, but he and Catherine Zeta-Jones have a good chemistry in it.
Yeah. I mean, I do remember the cat suit.
The
oh
yeah. That's like the front poster, I think, and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's actually a good scene though, but they actually take that and they make it into like a good, pretty good riveting scene. Like when they go on the actual heist, there's like guards coming and she's got to do all these crazy moves, to
Yeah.
get back. It's really good.
All right, cool. All right. Oh, now I got another movie I should check
There
out.
you go. There you go.
All right, cool. Number 15.
Number 15 is Octopussy, which
Oh,
is,
okay. Okay.
it's boy, Octopussy is so super solid. I really love it.
Yeah.
I love the sort of mix of it too. I thought
Mhm.
like the first part of it is more of a more of a Roger Moore romp kind of thing. But then it like sort of gets into like a high tension, espionage thriller in the second half. And I think both of it works together. It's surprising. There's a couple things that are a little close, like to Goldfinger, like the crushing of the dice and things like that. A little too on the
Yeah.
nose, but
Okay.
other than that, I mean, Louis Jourdan makes a terrific villain, perfect
Yeah.
counterpoint to Roger Moore's Bond,
Mhm.
and maybe even woefully underrated, even by me, maybe on this list. But what a great film!
Yeah. Agreed. Everyone knows I love this movie, so I'm with you there. And the pairing.
Is Never Say Never Again.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
It might be a cop out. I kind of went back and forth on that, and it's like, you know what? I really just want to do the Battle of the Bonds, the '83
Yeah.
Battle of the Bonds. So, and it does work surprisingly well.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I get that. All right. So that would take us to number 14.
Which would be Live and Let Die.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Which is, Moore's premiere as the James Bond character. And, what can you say about Live and Let Die? It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It has, it's got that weird, no, I shouldn't say weird. It's got that really great George Martin score. Just, and it's kind of like, Moore's, he's just sort of getting used to the role, but he's good in it. And Jane Seymour's terrific. Yabakoto makes a great villain. Yeah, it's a lot of good. And then, of course, with that great boat chase.
Totally. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Good film. What do you pair a film like this with?
Okay, I paired it with a movie called, and probably some of you probably haven't heard of this, but it's called Puppet on a Chain. And it's based on an Alistair MacLean novel, which I've actually read, believe it or not. I think the movie might be a little better. But that movie, it was made a couple of years before Live and Let Die. And this movie, Puppet on a Chain, also has a really good boat chase in it. And I think it might have inspired the makers of Live and Let Die to go forth with the boat chase. I'm not going to talk, I can't say for sure, but it's a really good pairing because you get to get two great boat chases in one night.
Okay, all right. I like the little things that pop up as the thing that we make the parallel with.
I know, yeah, they're all different, a little different.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I feel like that's part of the fun. Is like, okay, now how is Scott drawing the connection here?
Right.
Okay. All right, cool. Does that bring us to 13?
And that would be License to Kill.
Okay. All right. A little higher than I'd have it, but
right.
Fair enough. Respectable.
Yeah, I would like to have actually maybe a little higher in the list, but like I said, there's other ones that were fighting for space, so I had to go with it. I just I've always really liked License to Kill, and even though it's harder edged and all that kind of stuff, they really have some great Bond moments in here. I mean, I was recently listening to that La La Land release that they just came out with, which actually has a lot of the score that some of it that you don't hear in the film that gets dialed out of film. That's really great. One of the main ones being that at the end, near the end, where that meditation institute kind of blows up. He wrote like a really great cue for that place exploding that they don't use in the film. But I was like thinking, ooh, this might have made that scene a little bigger.
Yeah.
But anyway. License to Kill, what can you say? Not well received, especially in the United States at the time of release. But I loved it. I went to go see it a bunch of times. I loved it. But what can you do? I mean, and I kind of wish Dalton had gotten another film, but alas, we only have two.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. He really, if anybody deserved a third one, it was him.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been For King and Country, right?
I don't know. I don't know what
maybe
it would have been GoldenEye. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. What do we pair that one with?
Okay, I did. I took a little bit of risk here, but I paired it with a film that's quite a few decades older than it, but it's called Soul Madrid, and with Dave McKellen from the Man from U.N.C.L.E. Ilya. I know I knew I was going to screw that up. Kuryakin. Anyway,
Okay.
but I taped this movie off. Let me back up. During when they were making The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Robert Vaughn, Dave McKellen, they made some movies, in between, the hiatus of the series, and Vaughn made a movie called The Venetian Affair, which and Dave McCallum made The Soul Madrid, and I seeked out The Venetian Affair, and I wasn't too hot on it. I was like, that's all right. So I kind of cooled me on like seeking out Soul Madrid, but I taped it off classic movies recently, and I flipped for it. I thought it was great. I watched it like twice. I was like, oh wow, this is great, and it's got a good Layla Schifrin score, and it's good. It has like a drug angle and everything going on, and it's sort of like him, like sort of he's like an undercover agent. He's sort of playing two criminal factions against each other, so it sort of has that same License to Kill vibe a little bit.
Okay.
And it's got Telly Savalas in it, who gives a great performance. I think this is right before On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I bet you I wouldn't be surprised Peter Hunt saw that and said, "Ooh, I think I found my Blofeld."
Okay.
So I wouldn't be surprised.
All
and
right.
Ricardo Montalban's in it as well, and he's very good in it too. So some really good performances. This movie and Stella Stevens, who I really like, is in this. Real surprise to me. I flipped for Soul Madrid, and I thought it'd make a good pairing with License to Kill.
Nice. I like that you're keeping me guessing with these because I thought for sure I'm sitting here waiting for like
the
like
obvious
80s,
choice,
90s, right? 80s,
Right.
90s action movie, Michael Kamen score, that kind of thing.
Right.
That was a curveball. So that I like.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. So 12. We're almost to the top 10.
12.
So
We're
number
almost
12.
there. Is GoldenEye.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and it was, believe me, I tried to push GoldenEye in the top 10. It just couldn't make it. I'm sorry. I really love GoldenEye, but like you and I think you coined the phrase, and everybody sort of ran with it. It's like a greatest hits,
Yeah.
And but it's good, and it's got a great pre-title sequence, hit and miss score. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm Johnson. I mean, it's got some great stuff in it. But it also meanders a little bit for me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those movies that depends on my mood. If I'm in a certain mood for it, I think it plays great. And other days, I'm like, ooh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Sean Bean's great too, by the way. What a great whole idea of the 00,
Yep.
00 versus 00. That's a great idea.
Yeah. I agree.
So yeah, GoldenEye is a super solid. Hey, look, it's number 12, man. I'm not, but,
sure. Yeah. I mean, at this point on everything, we're not picking on everything.
Right.
I mean, it's
right.
in or near the top 10.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I feel like it's so busy trying to be a very traditional, solid Bond movie that it doesn't take any risks. And
I think that's probably what we're going to get from Amazon. We're going to get a GoldenEye-ish James Bond, which would be fine. I'd be cool with that.
Okay. You know what? I think you're warm on that. I would.
It could be. I could be. That's what I would do if I was, running the show. I'd be like,
sure.
let's give them what they want.
Yeah. No. Good point. Good point there. What are we pairing GoldenEye with?
I've had it. Maybe I just love Mission Impossible, the Brian De Palma one, the first one.
Okay.
And they're made around the same time. I think Mission Impossible came out the year later. I just think it's a great film. I love the especially that first Mission Impossible. It's kind of cerebral. You have to pay attention, but it's got some great action scenes. And it's Brian De Palma. Hey, look, he's a master of the set piece. And this, Mission Impossible is all about set pieces, right?
Yeah.
So a perfect director, perfect choice. And it sort of surprised me at the time of release because I sat back in my chair, when I first saw it, and I said, "Oh, this is going to be this will be okay. It'll be, Tom Cruise and Emilio Estevez. They'll go around, they'll crack wise with each other, and then they'll save the day." And then the bottom falls out, and his whole crew gets killed. And I was like, "Whoa, where's this movie going?" So that was like one of the first times you saw like the main cast being taken out like that. And then now it's become maybe a bit of a cliche, but back then that was like what.
Yeah.
So that was a real risk too, and people and doing that to Mr. Phelps. I mean, they were angry. People were angry at that.
Right. It's funny because I only remembered Mission Impossible from the early days pretty sparingly. I didn't know it too well. So when I saw the film, I remember thinking, even though there's parts of it that's kind of edgy, there's also a lot of it that seems to be playing it rather safe, I thought. And I kind of feel like for that reason, I think it does echo GoldenEye pretty well.
It does, yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like they're trying to they're kicking off a series. They're doing it in a way that is safe and faithful to what came before, and with that, not taking as many risks as they might. Although I guess Mission Impossible does take its share of risks. I'm not saying it doesn't.
I don't know if the risk taking. I see where you're going with that.
Yeah,
but I think that this took a lot of risks. I mean, you got to say, it's sort of like. It's sort of, how can I say it? Like you get someone from like it's like having the guy from Hawaii Five-0, McGarrett, like Jack Lord, and then he's the bad guy. It's just that kind of a risk. It's like what?
True, true. Yeah, no, that was a great point. All right, so I think actually no, we're up to 11, so we're almost to the top 10. What do you got for 11?
I put Skyfall there. Okay.
All right.
And I love Skyfall. It's a great film. There's others that I didn't just enjoy more, that are more classic, that are more maybe accessible. I mean, I guess sometimes when you're in a James Bond movie, you're kind of in the mood for something that's fast. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. Not fast and quick, but I know Skyfall comes with some baggage, and it's fine. It's a great film. But it's also one that, sometimes it's like, you kind of have to be in the mood a little bit for it,
Yeah. Okay. No, I get that. I think that makes sense.
And then, if I want to watch that, or maybe I'll just watch The Dark Knight for a more superior telling of that story. No, I'm
right.
Sorry. I love Skyfall. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but trust me, I can't argue with that. What are we pairing Skyfall with?
Well, they had the whole computer angle in this and that whole thing. I paired it with Live Free or Die Hard, which is like, I think the fourth Die Hard film.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. No, because I figured, there's like that whole thing with the computers and, it's like sort of similar plotting ideas.
Yeah. No. I'm
a little bit
getting it. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I think I'm one of the few people who really liked that movie. So
Live Free I liked Live Free or Die Hard. I think it's good.
Yeah. I totally get that. That's interesting. That's a really cool. I'm kind of loving that. Okay, cool.
All right, there you go. Yeah,
nice. All right. So I think now we are officially in our top 10. So what kicks off our top 10 there?
It's You Only Live Twice.
Okay.
That is so classic, that movie. I love it, man. Okay. It's got some good. I mean, some of it's funny, some of it's unintentionally funny now, but that first hour of that movie is amazing. It's nonstop. It's great. It's got this great pace, this wonderful John Barry score, which is, I know, broken record. But hey man, he was the man, right?
Yeah.
I endlessly quotable, amazing, just amazing film. That whole turning Japanese thing, that's dumb. It doesn't work. I know. And it's like, it doesn't, and then the disguise doesn't work anyway, because like seconds later, there's another attempt on his life. So they're not fooled by his disguise.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I think after he goes into disguise, he's like, there's 2 more assassination attempts.
Yes. Right after. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Right. So not a movie you want to read into too deeply.
Right.
Okay.
And and it's that crazy kooky Donald Pleasance performance as Blofeld. I mean, there's a lot of fun. It's just a fun movie,
Okay.
It's a fun movie.
I like it.
And I paired that with Our Man Flint, which is the first Flint film, the first Derek Flint film. And this one works too, because that also takes place, the climax is in a secret volcano. So there you go.
Okay. All right, and probably with the same kind of tone, just a tiny bit.
It does. Yeah, it's definitely very 60s. Another Jerry Goldsmith score, another great score. A lot of fun. Those Flint films are fun. If you approach them in the right mood.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I can't think of anything better. Getting together and watching, like, having a couple of beers and watching You Only Live Twice and Our Man Flint. It's a good night.
I like it. All right. Number 9
is For Your Eyes Only.
All right. I like it.
Which is was a great film.
Yeah.
I think this is a real great Roger Moore James Bond film. I always kind of like the tone of these, where they sort of have this taunt espionage thriller, but they also had sort of like sometimes the fun humor of the Roger Moore era, and sometimes it kind of meshed really well, you know. And in this movie, I think it does, you know, exception of the delicatessen line, right? But yeah, For Your Eyes Only. It's got, you know, the probably arguably the best and I want to say sidekick, but the best you know since Karen Bay, the best ally, I guess I should say, since Karen Bay.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And Topple.
Mhm.
And kind of yeah, if you go into it too, they got some you know some neat twists in this. You know, it's a great film.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Bill
Oh,
Conti
cool.
score is a little miss, I think.
Yeah,
Other than that,
I
it's
like
really-
it, but yeah, not one of my top.
yeah, I mean, like I like the soundtrack. You know, I like putting that on. That's kind of fun. You know,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
you know, definitely of its time.
yeah. Different
Fun.
vibe, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we pairing that guy with?
You know, this is probably one of the ones that maybe doesn't work quite great, but I paired it with Firefox. I had something else there, but I decided to take it out. But Firefox was made around the same time. I think Firefox is kind of an underrated film.
Mm,
I love the first half of Firefox because it's all about him trying to go into communist Russia and trying to get to a certain point, and he's got to. It's like very, very taunt, you know, because he's not supposed to be there, and he's got you know these problems with these papers, and they keep asking him for him and stuff, and he's all nervous, and they have this subplot about him, like he's got like this nervous tick about because he's got like this wartime tremors and stuff like that. So, but it's really good. And then the second half is fun. You know, it's like him in the Firefox. So you know, it's hard to go wrong with the Clint Eastwood movie. And I think this one's a little underrated. I really dig it.
I you know, it's funny. I'm curious to know how many people listening know what that movie is. I mean, I remember it
Right.
crystal clear like you do because it was
another
a product of
another
the early
staple
80s.
and a staple of HBO, right?
Big time, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
I mean,
love it.
because you know, and maybe that's the connection, you know, because after For Your Eyes Only, what was probably on Firefox. So there you
It
go.
was right,
So
literally.
this is my HBO connection. So there you go. I just brought them together. How about that?
Yeah. Cool. All right, number 8.
Is The Living Daylights.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Which is a film I really adore. I think my Bond mania was starting to peak around that time. And it was just great because I was kind of ready. I was ready for The Living Daylights because after View to a Kill, I realized, oh, I loved Roger Moore era, but it was, you know, he's getting up there. So it was great to have this new James Bond who's a little more dangerous, and they really took this seriously. I think, and it's got some really great. It's got great elements of Fleming in it. Great action scenes. Probably one of the few last movies that really was a great stunt show too. You know, built around a good story. I love the sort of the romantic vibe in this one too. It's really nice, and the scenes in Vienna are really nice and beautiful.
Yes.
And some of the action scenes are really inventive and crazy and wonderful, you know. And it's John Barry's last score for the film.
Yep.
It's very appropriate that they show him in the end as a cameo, being as a conductor.
Yes.
So sadly, that's his last one in the series, but. You know, again,
what a prophetic one to end on. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, this was just got everything you want in a James Bond film. I really totally agree with you.
It really does. A great film.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it multiple times in the theater, and it was wonderful.
I did too. I remember. I know I saw that one a few times too. All right, what are we pairing it with?
I paired it with a Roger Moore movie because, you know, the whole, you know, ex-Bond thing, with Folks.
Oh yeah. That's another. That was another one that was on a lot in the 80s. Yeah, okay.
It was another staple of HBO. It was really good though. I think it was I don't think it was well received at the time. I remember Siskel and Ebert in particular. If you know who those guys are, they kind of panned it, you know, thumbs down, all that bad stuff. But I think it's a really solid film. Anthony Perkins is in it, really great. He plays the bad guy. They hijack sea freight. And Roger Moore says curmudgeon cat lover that they come, you know, he's like really curt and not a nice guy to deal with, but they're going to him because he knows he knows how to do this and what he's doing, and he's going to be able to, you know, free the hostages and all this stuff, and he knows what he's doing. but they all have to sort of put up with him. David Henderson's also in this, another is Felix Leiter, James Mason. So yeah, it's good cast, and I think it's a solid film.
Nice. I like that. That's a good one. Dude, you're really impressing me with these. I think these are really well
Okay,
done.
cool.
These, very cool. All right, number 7.
Number 7 is Thunderball.
Nice. Okay. Very good.
Which is definitely the superior story of this, about this Thunderball. Red to Never Say Never Again. Great pre-title sequence. Great John Barry score. I mean, I guess gonna keep saying that. Great John Barry score. Great John Barry score.
Yeah, but they do. I mean, yeah, it's hard.
But it really is. It really is.
Yeah, sure.
And it's got some of the great quips, some of the great one-liners. You got Luciana Paluzza, Claudine Auger. It's a great film.
Yeah.
From start to finish. I know some people don't like it that today is too slow. I think the underwater photography is amazing and spectacular.
Yes.
We don't see much stuff like that much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the stuff with them covering the plane and everything goes on a little too long. But that's a really cool scene at the end, though. That underwater fight is pretty amazing.
Yes, I agree.
Even though they get a little confused and you get blue mask, black mask, blue mask, black mask. But that's all right. Hey, man, they're underwater.
You gotta be an eagle eye to really catch it.
Yeah. We could digitally fix that anyway now. So.
This is true. This is true.
And this is something I hope that they that the home video releases have been kind of hit and miss with it too, because I kind of would like to get a Chucky box that has all the cuts in it, has the right audio, because that 5.1 audio they got now, they keep monkeying around with it.
Yeah,
I mean, like when Largo goes into that. He goes into that after the opening credits. He goes in that secret lair that they have.
Yeah,
expect meetings taking place. And some of the 5.1s, it sounds like a garage door opening. It's like really loud. It's like no. It's supposed to be secret. No.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah, a lot of bad decisions. Some of those sound effects.
Oh man,
what do we pair Thunderball with?
I paired it with a Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie from back in the day called To Trap a Spy, which also has this particular version of this Luciana Paluzza. So it's like a sort of a Luciana Paluzza double feature.
Yeah.
I'd have to say this To Trap a Spy, it was originally a pilot called Solo for the Man from U.N.C.L.E. show. And then they cut, there's that cut. And then there's the cut that they did for the television series. And then they decided to make it a movie, and they added this Luciana Paluzza stuff, which pads the writing time out a little bit, so it's a little bit of a subplot.
Right.
But it's one of my favorite Man from U.N.C.L.E. Features that they did. There's like an opening sequence where they're the enemy is attacking Uncle headquarters. That is great. There's like 5 minutes of it, and there's no dialogue. But it's so great, man.
Nice.
And great. A Jerry Goldsmith score. That's great.
Okay. Very cool. Awesome. I love it. Number 6
is Dr. No. What can you say about Dr. No? The first great film, why show of the Bond series, and they're off to a great start. I'd say probably like this one. It's kind of interesting, this movie, because it has like that. It still has like that little 50s vibe, like there's still that 50s filmmaking still going on there. But it's also looking forward a little bit to the future, because you got the Peter Hunt editing, and he's kind of like taking more of a brisk pace than most of the people of that era, or editors would take of that era. So, and you got this great Joseph Wiseman performance, and you got the first time you hear that James Bond theme.
Yes.
Amazing.
It is amazing how much they got right out of the gate,
They sure did.
Yeah.
And of course, Ursula Andress. I mean, it's got so many iconic moments too. And the best Felix Leiter by a long mile, in my opinion, of the series, Jack Lord. I wish he could have played it through the whole Connery era, but it is what it is.
Yes, I totally agree. And what's the pairing there?
I paired it with a movie called The Face of Fu Manchu, which is from the 60s, maybe a few years after Dr. No. With Christopher Lee, and it has Nigel Green, who's also a favorite of mine. Nigel Green is also in the Ipcress File, which is a great film. And The Face of Fu Manchu, directed by John Sharp. He's also did some Hammer stuff. A great British director, and it's just a fun film. It's nothing great, but it makes a good pairing. You sort of have that Asian menace.
Which I think is kind of underplayed in Dr. No a little bit.
It is
a little more prevalent in the novel. Little underscored. So I think that's a perfect match. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're not. You're not really allowed to play type. Maybe I shouldn't go there, but yeah, it's just a fun. It's of its era, but it's fun. It's a fun movie.
Mhm.
I mean, they made a bunch of these Fu Manchus with Christopher Lee, and I know near the end of it, they sort of got they made the last couple are made by Jess Franco, who's actually I haven't watched because I think he's a terrible director. I hate Jess Franco. I just do not like his movies. Everyone I watch of him like not only sucked, but like super sucked. So it's like
Okay.
I'm not a Just Franco fan, I guess. So I would skip. I probably would skip the last couple of movies in the Fu Manchu cycle, but who knows? Maybe they're good. I don't know.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. Well, this brings us to the top 5, my friend. Your
The
top
top five.
5 Bond
Yeah,
movies of all time. What is the number 5 in that spot?
The Spy Who Loved Me,
Okay.
which I love. The Spy Who Loved Me really revitalized the series. I think we've all talked about that. What an important film that is.
Mhm.
But it's also a great film to watch, even just on its own. I think it took the "You Only Live Twice" plot. I think it improved it. It had the subplot with Barbara Bach, and as
Yeah.
Anya, and that whole idea of she's going to kill him because he killed her lover and her
Yes.
boyfriend. I think that's a really good subplot for this particular plot. I think it improves upon it takes that "You Only Live Twice" plotting and makes it even better.
Agreed. Yep. Yep. Adds a layer that really does
And you
spice
got
it
that
up.
you got that great. I should have mentioned Ken Adams' great set in "You Only Live Twice," but he also does a
Sure.
great job here
Yeah.
with the set. And there's also that that whole great story he tells about Stanley Kubrick coming in on a Sunday and helping him out. So it's kind of that's cool,
Yeah. That's awesome. So what do you pair a film like this with?
Okay, I paired it with Force 10 from Navarone, which has Richard Kiel,
Okay. Yeah.
Barbara
Yeah.
Bach, right? So
Uh-huh.
it's got a couple alumni from The Spy Who Loved Me in there,
Right.
and
Right. Right.
Force 10 from Navarone might be. I think it's an underrated movie.
Yeah.
It's got Harrison Ford, Robert Shaw, great actors.
Sure.
Edward Fox, another great actor.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I got the tone of the cavalry, I think, kind of
yeah,
makes sense too. Yeah, I get that. Okay.
and Franco Nero. I mean, it's a great
Yeah.
cast.
Awesome.
It's always fun. One I always like to like. There's some there's a little bit of I guess cheesiness. Maybe that doesn't have the bigger budget of like say the Guns of Navarone, but
Hmm.
which is like and as a sequel, man, it doesn't really play. I guess maybe I mean, they actually show a clip from the Guns of Navarone at the beginning, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's like you don't really need to watch it to understand. But yeah, so that's a good pairing, I think.
Alrighty. Number 4.
Is the iconic Goldfinger,
Okay.
which I'm almost a little ashamed. This seems like it should be higher in the list. It's so iconic. But
I don't even know if it
yeah,
makes
by
my
the way,
top
so,
10, but
oh really?
yeah,
You
I
know,
mean,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I always say it deserves all of our respect. I mean, it is a fantastic film, just kind of not one that I grab off the shelf as often as I might some of the other ones. So, I feel like it's a wonderful. It definitely sets the stage for what is to come in the future, and it does it wonderfully. But again, it on its own, I feel like it just doesn't always grab my attention like it should.
You know what? I watched a video on YouTube. I think the channel's called East Meets West. I think that's what it's called. But it's like this husband and wife, and they were watching the Bond films for the first time. And they were watching
Mm,
Goldfinger, and they were having such a great time with it. And it sort of made me realize, yeah, all the things I take for granted in the film, because we know, oh, here comes the ejector seat. Oh,
yeah.
here comes Oddjob with the hat and all that. But seeing it through their fresh eyes, you realize, oh, how inventive the film was, and
Mm,
how plot twisty it was. We
yeah.
kind of miss that nowadays,
Yes.
but
Agreed.
and I just, the iconic, there's so many iconic things in it. It's such a great film. And
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing it again soon, to be honest with you.
There you go. There you go. So, what do you pair Goldfinger with?
I paired it with a Harry Palmer film starring Michael Caine called Funeral in Berlin, which is also directed by Guy Hamilton. So
Okay.
it's a Guy Hamilton night. There you go.
Gotcha.
And Funeral in Berlin's not quite as good maybe as the Ipcress File,
Mm,
but it's a solid film though. It's very good.
I love it. All right. We are in the top 3, my
Top
friend.
three.
Top 3. So,
Top
what is your
three
number 3 Bond film?
is the Daniel Craig Casino Royale.
Okay. Nice. And I can recall you and I seeing this in the theater together multiple times. So
Pretty
okay,
awesome. I mean, that was awesome. I mean, to see that with you on opening night was pretty amazing. I mean,
yeah,
every time they said a lion dialogue from the book to see you,
yeah,
like,
yep,
I mean, you could barely keep you in the seat.
yeah.
You were just so okay.
True,
You just
true.
sat there. You had that one of the, it was just like this wonderful gaze, about looking at that film. It was like
Yeah,
it was like the perfect mix. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
if you could have made the film, that was the film you could have made. It's like one of
Honestly,
those things. Yeah, for real.
seriously, I totally agree. I mean, there's not I have not a word I could say to criticize that
Right.
movie. It is so good.
And I think it does a wonderful job of being, both modern but also looking to the past.
Mm,
And I think that it juggles those things very well. And
yeah,
it's a wonderful film. And even, you could even just kind of look at it as a one-off too, if you wanted to. You could just
yeah.
kind of do that and not continue. you know,
Sure, sure. Yeah,
it's kind of
it's
like
a film that stands very well on its own.
yeah.
I totally agree.
And let's face it. At the end of that movie, the last 30 seconds, he is James Bond.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
but then for the sequels, we're like, well, not quite yet.
Yeah. Right.
He's
Right. We didn't
he's
need four
kinda
more
he's not
films to.
and he's not quite yet, and then and then he's not
Yeah.
quite yet in Skyfall either, right? And
Sure.
but all
Yeah.
of a sudden he's over the hill. So when is he? When is he James Bond?
Yeah.
But
I
I'm
agree.
joking. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Um.
Eva Green and Mads as great as
Yes.
Lashif. I mean, there's
Hmm.
so many the great cast.
Yeah.
Mostly those are mostly unknown at the time.
Hmm. Yep. I agree. Yep. Good point.
And I had planned to pair that film with I figured I'd go a little light, after Casino Royale because it's such a massive meal almost.
Hmm.
So I wanted to pair it with something a little light and fluffy. So I picked the Pierce Brosnan, thinking of the Pierce Brosnan, pairing the two Bonds, an ex Bond and a
Uh-huh.
new Bond. I was going to go with the Thomas Crown Affair, that remake. I couldn't find it in my collection, and I was like looking around, I couldn't find it. So I was kind of like, what am I going to do here? And I had never seen that After the Sunset. I'd seen like maybe little pieces of it, but I never sat down from A to Z and watched it. So I watched After the Sunset, which was okay.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, first off, I got two things to say to that. First off,
Okay.
I think I have your DVD of the Thomas Crown Affair. I'm almost positive because I know at some point I ended up with two of them, and I'm like, well, how did I end up with two of these? So at some point, I think you came over with like a handful of DVDs or something or other, and
That's
that
quite
might have been one
possible.
of them. Yeah.
Is
So
it a DVD or a Blu-ray?
I think it's a DVD. I
Oh,
think pretty
DVD?
sure it was a DVD. I think I
Okay.
have the Blu-ray, but I think I think
Okay.
it was a DVD.
Okay.
But After the Sunset, I've always kind of remarked that I think that film works perfectly as a sequel to the Thomas Crown Affair. I would almost
That's
think,
funny.
to me, it's like an unofficial sequel because if you think about it, After the Sunset is about this guy who pulls off this great heist, has to go off into the sunset and kind of live off, and now he's just a little restless. That's Thomas Crown. I mean, that's
Okay,
totally
yeah.
him, and it's
I
played by,
totally see that.
honestly. I mean, if you swapped out, they do this kind of weird heisty thing in the beginning to kick the movie off.
Yes.
But if you just swapped out Salma Hayek for Rene Russo and just
Oh
forgot
yeah.
that part, and just that's it. I mean, that's basically what this is.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I never thought about it, and I enjoyed it. I think there's a point in the middle where I would say I was about to bail, but I was like, this is okay. But then it kind of sort of picks up a little bit. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and Pierce is great in that movie. I feel like he's.
You know what? Pierce is great.
Yeah,
and he was a great James Bond, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think we talked about this. But yeah, I just wish he had better scripts.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, top two.
The top two.
So what got second place?
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Okay, all right.
Which was, it's interesting that it's high like this now, because back in the day, that was considered a bad movie. There's no other way to put it. There's no other way around it. That was like, ooh, that was that one they made with that Sean Connery or that whoever that guy was, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I saw, like, when I first saw it, it was on ABC television, and it was like an edited version of it where they truncated the movie terribly, and they put it like a narration at the beginning with, it wasn't even Lazenby.
Yes,
It's supposed to be Lazenby. Horrible. And I kind of like, I was like, I kind of see what people are saying. But
Mhm.
then I rented the film because back in the day we didn't have the internet. We didn't know what was going on with this stuff. They pulled so many tricks.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember like those Man from Uncle movies I was talking about. They would make two-parters and then release them overseas as features,
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
more money. But anyway, I rented it from the mom and pop video store, and I was like, this movie's kind of amazing. My
Mm.
goodness. And it grew on me. And then, I finally, back in the day, early 90s, I bought the Laserdisc and I just kind of fell in love with the film. I just thought it was great.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's what like my top 10 kind of goes is like, I love the people that were making these, your Peter Hunt, Terrence Young, John Barry,
Mhm.
Ken Adam, all those great names, that were behind the scenes making these films. They were great
Mm.
craftsmen. And, that's I just love. And I was like on the way home today, I was listening to the Iron Majesty Secret Service soundtrack. It is probably the best. It is amazing. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. I do. And by the way, we can't talk about this movie together without me mentioning that the first time I ever saw this movie was at your house on
Now
Laserdisc.
Laserdisc.
So,
It's
yep,
on the Laserdisc.
yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I still have that Laserdisc.
Oh, it's great.
And it's a slightly different cut than what we got today.
Okay.
I think it's slightly shorter, to be honest with you. But
That's-
yeah. And let's see. I paired that with because it was kind of like the last serious Bond, I guess you could say, for a while.
Mm.
I paired it with a movie called The Quiller Memorandum, which is a spy thriller from the '60s with George Siegel. It's got Alec Guinness in it and Max von Sydow. It's got a John Barry score, and it's a really cool taunt espionage thriller.
Mm. Okay.
Well worth your time. Very
All
well
right.
done.
You're definitely giving me a lot of ideas for things
Yeah.
to check out.
Yeah. The Quiller Memorandum, also the DVD. Twilight Time, I think, came out with the Blu-ray. I think that might still be available if you look around, if you're savvy. But it's got a Lee Pfeiffer commentary. The commentary is great. Lee Pfeiffer commentaries are always
Oh,
great.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to know. Well, my friend, that only leaves your number one
Right.
Bond movie of all time.
And if you're a real brainiac, you already know what it is. From Russia with Love.
There it is.
Yeah, that's where you get your first full John Barry score. You get Sean Connery's really all of a sudden he's owning the role, right? That
Yeah.
from the opening frame till last,
Yes.
he's there. You got Karen Bay,
Mhm.
Pedro Almodovar's. It's so iconic, and that Robert Shaw's Red Grant.
Mhm.
There's so many iconic characters in this,
Yeah.
Um,
That's
what a
one
wonderful film.
that's a pick that is just above reproach. I mean, you cannot. I can't think of a criticism at all of that film, and I kind of in the last few years have really rediscovered that film, and it's really tremendous.
Yeah, Kleb too, right? Can't forget her.
Absolutely.
One of the scariest villains, right? Of the entire series, for sure.
Yeah,
The creepiest, probably. Yeah.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely. What does one pair this movie with?
I paired it with the Ipcress File, which is a fantastic
You
film.
saved the okay, good. I got it.
The first Harry Palmer movie. Such a great film. Another John Barry score. So you got another night of great John Barry scores.
Nice.
You got Nigel Green in this is great. Great supporting cast in the Ipcress File. Wonderful turny, twisty plot. It's got great droll sense of humor. Wonderful camera angles in it too. It's almost like reminiscent of The Third Man, with its inventive camera angles and so forth. One of the great films, and one of the ones that can actually, From Russia with Love is one of the few films that could probably stand toe to toe with it. So yeah, that's a good. If you do one double feature, probably do From Russia with Love Ipcress File. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's
Now listen to me. Listen to me.
Scott, that was tremendous. Honestly, I feel like you not only did you give us a top 27 list of Bond, but you gave us 27 films now.
There you go.
To look up, pair with these films, or just check them out on their own right, and just some new things to try and think about. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of these films are really good, and some of them are, maybe they're somewhat like the Face of Fu Manchu. It's not, it's not great, super great cinema, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is great, honestly. And this, dude, I think this is why I'm constantly asked, when are you bringing back Scott? Because I constantly get people who say, this guy really knows his stuff. He really knows movies, and he really does kind of expand your horizons when you listen to him. So
I just, just take a moment. I just like all the kind words that people said about me. I was kind of astounded. I want to thank you all for just all the things you would say. It was very touching, and I thank you so very much. You got one hell of an audience out there.
That's very true. We're blessed with good people, honestly, and honestly,
Absolutely.
A lot of people, when people would leave nice comments, when you bring it back, Scott, I would screenshot them and text them over to Scott and be like, "Come on, man, we got it."
He did. Yeah. No, I appreciate it. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Cool. Dude, you're welcome. Thank you for doing this. And again, people, I don't know if I mentioned it in the beginning, but Scott and I have officially recorded our review of No Time to Die, which is why we didn't go anywhere near it today. So
right.
That'll be out. I don't want to say soon, because it's not gonna be real soon, because I know I got a ton of editing to do on that one. That's a big one. But but that's on its way. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I have to say, when you say a ton of editing, it's because of me. This guy makes me look competent when he does it. But his editing prowess is amazing. It really is. He's underrated.
Thank you, brother.
No.
All right, my friend. Again, thank you so much for doing this. And
thank you for having me.
Anytime, my friend. Seriously, anytime. Anything you think of, you want to come back and talk about, just let's do it. Because honestly, I'm always excited to talk to you, and it makes for great podcasting.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's always a blast to talk here, and we're always loving the James Bond stuff. Looking forward to those 4Ks coming.
Sweet. All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye, Mr. Bond.